The Center for Clinical Imaging Research was developed in 2007.
We started with 2 MRI scanners, a CT scanner, a PET CT scanner, and ultrasound.
We now have 3 PET scanners, so 2 PET CT scanners and a PET MR.
So we have currently 2 scanners that are available for CT. One is just a 40 slice Siemens scanner on the front of the Biograph TruePoint PET CT scanner. The newer one is a 128 slice CT scanner that is on the front of the PET CT Vision scanner.
We also have 2 latest MR scanners, both 3Ts, a Siemens Prisma and a Siemens Vita. We were first in the United States to get the Siemens Vita and third in the United States to get the PET MRI. So with our Vita system, it came with enhanced DICOM, which is a new DICOM method. And we were one of the first to experience troubleshooting that, and were able to provide our experience and information to other sites who are receiving and installing that scanner.
The CCIR is a really unique facility where we're able to take care of clinical patients, healthy research volunteers, and clinical patients who are volunteering for research. And so that means we need to be able to accommodate a wide range of patients with different abilities and disabilities and complex medical issues.
So in addition to the scanner rooms and the control rooms, we have multiple uptake rooms for patients who are receiving radiotracers, examination rooms, areas where IV starts can occur, where patients can be consented.
One of the things we've discovered with research is that if you only scan healthy people, healthy volunteers, you're going to end up having a very biased approach. It's something that the NIH, which funds a lot of our research, has considered really important, that we try to recruit a more inclusive population, and that will include minorities, disabilities, different genders, and also different diseases.
We have accessibility to pediatric anesthesia. So if you're scanning pediatric patients and have that in your consent form, we're able to handle that. We can handle inpatients as well as outpatients. We have had researchers who have performed lumbar punctures up here with physician supervision. So we're certainly able to handle a wide variety of complex programs.
When you have people with all of these different things going on, you really need to have a facility and a staff that's designed and put together and trained in order to have the safest possible environment.
Our goal here at the Center for Clinical Imaging Research is to serve you, to serve our investigators doing imaging research. So whether you're a new investigator, someone who's well versed in imaging, or has never done any imaging before, our goal is to be able to help you build your protocols, to assign your schedule, and to facilitate your research.
We can do almost any kind of imaging services for PET. We do a lot of oncology, a lot of neurology, just a big variety of different kinds of imaging.
So whether you have a protocol that involves imaging or whether the specific protocol is dedicated to imaging, we're able to assist you.
My main role as a clinical medical director up here has to do with the MRI safety. We do also have a director for PET, so positron emission tomography. Dr. Dadashti is the authorized user for the facility for that. And so she's responsible for anyone that's getting a PET scan in the department. So PET scans have a different type of safety concern. There's not a magnetic field that's switching on and off, but you're injecting something in someone. So then you really need to know what medications they're on, what are their allergies, because it's a type of medication, as well as that PET studies involve radiation. So the MRI safety zones are standardized across the country and around the world. Zone 1 is the area that's open to the public. So if you're walking around the hallways, if you take the central elevators up, that's considered MRI Zone 1. Zone 2 is the area where we have staff in place in the MRI department. So when you come into our lobby and you're greeted, you're in MRI Zone 2. And that's where we will usually start to give you some paperwork to review.
So Crystal Henderson is the first person that your patients and coordinators will see when they enter into the CCIR. Crystal is the receptionist.
My job is to get them signed in, get paperwork in place if it's not already in place, and basically they wait on their coordinators, and the coordinator takes it from the sign-in point.
After that, you'll come back into Zone 3, and after you've been screened, you can come into Zone 3, which is right outside the magnet door. We ask everyone who's getting scanned or coming back in the room to change into hospital attire. Sometimes that's a hospital gown, sometimes it's scrubs, but believe it or not, clothing now contains a lot of metal. So we think about it for women who may have metal in their bra, or sometimes people will have steel-toed shoes, but it turns out a lot of athletic wear also has metal fibers in it now. And then Zone 4 is inside the MRI suite itself. And you basically will only be exposed to the magnet once you enter Zone 4. But we do all of the screening even before you get to Zone 3 because we don't want anyone to come even close to that.
When you first come to us, you'll bring your protocol. You'll provide that protocol to Betsy, and she'll look at it and make sure that we have the equipment that you need, and then assign it to one of the technologists. So either Glenn Foster, who's our senior MR technologist, or Linda Becker, who's our senior PET-CT technologist, or possibly Holly Karsh, who manages our CT program.
So I pretty much take care of reviewing all the images and reviewing all the protocols, study protocols that come through CCIR. Since CCIR is made for research projects, I have to review it, make sure that we are capable of doing what they're asking us to do.
Each protocol is built on each system because the systems all have slightly different capabilities because of basically the age as hardware has gotten better. So we try to not make changes as long as possible so that people have the longitudinal studies without changing instruments. But every once in a while, because we are research, we have to stay on the top side of the technology.
I make sure that it has IRB approval, RDRC approval, any FDA approvals, any regulatory documents that need to be there.
I am the MRI supervisor up here in the CCIR, which now with the PET MR also includes some of the PET duty. Because with the PET MR, basically once the PET starts, it's an MR scanner as we collect the MR while the PET runs.
We use the scanner fairly often in the setting of patients with intractable epilepsy to help with surgical planning, so using the PET information and the MR information to help localize the site in the brain that may be responsible for the patient's seizures so that a surgeon can be very targeted in addressing that specific area. We also use it in the neurology setting to help distinguish whether patients have recurrent brain tumors after they've been treated with surgery and radiation, because it can sometimes be difficult to make the determination with MRI alone. That additional information from the PET can be very helpful in making that assessment.
So we will basically get protocols where people, they write them generically or they write them from the system that whoever designed the protocol for. We take what they want and basically adapt it to work with our systems, with our particular scanners.
As far as facilitating PET MR scans, I make sure that all the scans are, doses are ordered on the calendar, make sure that we get the patients injected in a timely fashion, and do everything that we can to facilitate and get these patients in and out of the facility.
For most times we will try anything, but there are certain things because of MRI safety requirements that we'll just say, hey, because of safety we can't do this, or this would be better done on a different modality.
We have a pneumatic tube system that our cyclotron facility sends us all of our radiopharmaceuticals through, which is very nice because it only takes a couple minutes to get there. And so when we do very short half-life radiopharmaceuticals like N13 for cardiac scanning, they can just send it through the P-tube system and we'll have it, and then we will have enough to inject when we need to inject. And we also can do O15 gases and water, which allows us to produce the O15 water up here in the CCIR in our hot lab, and then we can immediately inject it because it's got a 2-minute half-life. So it's way faster. We coordinate a lot with the cyclotron facility, but also with the coordinators for the research studies to make sure that we can start IVs, scan their patients in a timely fashion.
We have 5 scanners, and wherever they need IVs for contrast or injecting radiopharmaceuticals, I sometimes help with that. If the PI needs help with the scan, as in drawing labs during certain points of the scan, I can help with that.
Our radio pharmacy / cyclotron facility is very into creating new radiopharmaceuticals and not just sitting back and letting things move past them, which is very helpful because then when new radiopharmaceuticals come along, we've already done them.
Some studies require images to be uploaded to our medical record, which needs a dictated report from the radiologist. I need to streamline that and make sure we can pull it from our medical records, assign it a session number, and make sure that it is read by a radiologist or specific radiologist in order for it to, meet the needs.
Currently in MR, deep learning is, going higher and higher. People are very much interested in getting better images in shorter times.
Many people come to us never having done imaging before. They have a clinical protocol that now requires imaging. We're able to take the manual or the protocol provided to you by the company or by the coordinating center of the multi-center trial, look at that, and then build the protocol here on our scanners so that we can be consistent with all of the other centers and meet the requirements of the trial.
I am working with Dr. Hongyu Han, who's one of the co-directors of the CCIR, on a couple of projects in the oncologic realm. One of those projects involves the development of new techniques that will make it easier for patients to undergo either MR imaging or PET-MR imaging. And normally, to get good pictures of the lower chest and the upper abdomen with an MR scanner, it's necessary for patients to hold their breath, and oftentimes on repeated occasions during a short interval, and that can be challenging for patients that have somewhat tenuous respiratory status. And at the same time, patients that are unable to comply, it really degrades the quality of the images. We have worked together to sort of develop and optimize an approach that allows patients to get that same imaging on either MR or PET-MR without having to hold their breath. So they just sort of breathe freely throughout the entire scan, and we acquire the data and we process it, and we can make images that are relatively free of artifacts. So we're sort of preserving the image quality while sort of making it easier for patients to participate in their imaging examinations.
So typically they would come to us and say what are the clinical goals, what research goals they want to achieve, and then we will help them to look into literature to say this is probably the good imaging protocols you should be considering. And then we normally have one-on-one meeting with them, and then after that we will have the experts in-house to design the protocol for them, and then normally we will test the protocol on a few cases and then talk to the investigators again to see whether that meet their need for their research projects.
Something that often comes up is a study investigator will help a participant go through their MRI safety form. We usually recommend that they do that in advance of the visit so that we can determine any potential concerns. That MRI safety form needs to get signed off on by someone who has credentials in MRI. We call that a level 2 personnel. But we actually have a team available to review and discuss that safety form before the participant ever arrives.
So for every single subject, we give them a screening sheet, and then they just fill out, and then they let us know what they have on their body, and then we check the prescribing information or instructions for use provided by the manufacturer to see if in an MR environment the implant will give us trouble in terms of heating, in terms of motion, or if our subject will ever have any sort of discomfort.
Medical imaging is critically important in today's diagnosis. And then a lot of time, if you have equipment, you need to make sure that you get the good quality images. And so that's why this technical development component is so important here.
We are often helping other facilities. In the case of multi-center trials, we have developed the MR protocols that are used. The Center for Clinical Imaging Research supports multiple NIH-funded grants. We support investigators, and by doing so, permit them to receive NIH funding. So we're facilitating not just imaging, but entire research programs. If you're planning a grant submission or a project sometime in the future, our team is able to assist you in budget planning. We have Betsy Thomas, who is familiar with all the pricing structure here in the CCIR. We also have a website that is annually updated with our price list.
When I'm reading the protocols, I basically pull out the things that they need and come up with a cost of how much it would cost per scan, including any pre-study cost, if they have to techs need to go through any training, any phantom scans that they need, like maybe quarterly, or if they needs it to be qualified. So I kind of add that pricing in. So when the PI submits it to the industry or NIH or whoever is needing to fund the study, they have kind of a basic idea of how much it's going to cost.
We are very fortunate that we have a good team of people here, like from the director who knows what's going on, also has a big picture, and also we have the technical expertise who got training for many years and then can take care of things for different investigators.
It's a great work environment because we just do what we need to do, mostly for the patients. Because that's what's important. We want to make sure the patients get treated well and make sure that the patients, are comfortable.
So the thing that I like the best would be, if you can apply good, novel, new technology, and then you really can see the impact in, for example, patient diagnosis or patient management. So that sort of make me so motivated to do things like this, not only for my own research, but also to help other people.